Good morning, dear students. Once again, welcome back to the English literature class. In the last class, we were discussing one of the chapters from short story section. Today, we are going to begin with one of the poems from our English literature syllabus. That is unit number 9, Abou bin Adhem by Hunt. Today we are not going to discuss the entire chapter, but we are going to see the introductory part of the chapter. Hunt was an English poet, writer and essayist. So this great author was famous in different fields, like he was a very good and renowned poet, he was a good writer and an essayist. Through this poem, Hunt claims that true worship is manifest through the acts of love and service that one shows one's fellow men and women. So, this particular poem, that means the poem Abou bin Adhem, is expressing or telling about the true worship, or it is telling about what is meant by true worship. And the poem says that true worship is manifest through the acts of love and service. So love and service is the basis of true worship, and to whom we have to render our love and service. It means the love and service that one shows one's fellow men and women. So the humanitarian concept, or the love towards other fellow human being, that's what is the true worship and true love towards God. That's what he is trying to express through this poem. Now let's discuss some other key features of the poem. First one, it's about themes. The first theme used or expressed in this poem is true devotion to God. A person should have true devotion to God. And how it can be done? Or according to this poem, what is the true devotion to, or how true devotion can be done? True devotion to God is found in love for one's neighbor. So when we love our neighbor sincerely, there take place the true devotion to God. And the second theme is love for mankind. Those who love their fellow men are rewarded with God's love and blessings. So the second theme which is being expressed in this poem is love for mankind. So true devotion to God is the first theme, and the second theme is love for mankind, those who love their fellow men. If we are able to love our neighbor, those people will be rewarded with God's love and blessings. And the third theme is love of God. So first one, true devotion to God, second one, love for mankind, and third one is love of God. So the second one, love for mankind, means it's our concern towards the other human beings. And the third point is about the God's concept or concern towards us, love of God. So it will be coming from God. And how it happens? God's love and blessings will be with those people who do noble deeds for the welfare of others selflessly out of love. So when we help somebody, or when we do something to others selflessly out of love, or when we do something to others selflessly from our love towards them, or the love towards them enabling us to do something selflessly for others, to those people the blessings and the love of God will come. So these are the three different themes which is being explained in this poem. The next feature which we are going to discuss is about its style, the style used in this poem. form and structure. The form and structure is mainly as a parable in verse, which means, I hope you know what is meant by parable. Parable means a short story which illustrates some spiritual points or some moral values. So actually this poem is something like a moral story, but it is in the form of a verse. It's in the form of a poem. So parable in verse. Second one, it's about the message of God's love, and it is conveying the message of God's love, and 18 lines in total. The structure of this poem is with 18 lines in total, and the first 14 lines can be considered as the first stanza. First 14 lines can be considered as the first stanza, since it is dealing with a particular meaning, and the last 4 lines can be considered as the second stanza. Altogether 18 lines are there in this poem, and the first 14 lines can be considered as the first stanza, and the last or the second 4 lines can be considered as the second stanza. Now the next feature is about rhyming scheme. Of course, in this poem he has used rhyming scheme. It is something like first line rhymes with the second, the third with the fourth, and the fifth with the sixth, and so on. So this is what is the rhyming pattern which he has followed in this poem. Let's see the example. Abou ben Adhem, may his tribe increase, awake one night from a deep dream of peace, and saw within the moonlight in his room, making enrich and like a lily in bloom. So here you can see certain words are colored, like increase and peace, room and bloom. So I hope you understood what kind of pattern he has used in this poem and what kind of rhyming scheme he has used. First line rhymes with the second, the third with the fourth, and it continues till the end of the poem. So that's what the rhyming scheme which he has used in this poem. The next feature of this work is the usage of alliteration, and I hope you know what is meant by alliteration. Repetition of consonant sounds, usually at the beginning of the words. So that's what is meant by alliteration. So he has used this particular kind of literary device in making of this poem. Let's see one example. Awoke one night from a deep dream of peace, answered the names of those who love the Lord. So in the first example, you can see the colored words like deep dream. The consonant sound D, he is being repeated twice in the particular line. And the second example, the colored words love and Lord. The two different consonant sounds are being used there. So it's a literary device that is called alliteration, used by the author to beautify this particular poem. Now let's move to the critical remarks of the poem. The first critical remarks about the poem is the real Abou ben Adhem. So the concept or the ideology of this poem is from a real Abou ben Adhem, and his real name is Ibrahim ben Adhem, who was living between 718 and 782. And there was a speciality with this person. He was a prince who became a Sufi legend. So, who had born and brought up in a very rich, noble family, and he was a prince who lived among all the worldly pleasures. But later, he left all the luxury life and started to live as a Sufi by following asceticism. So that's why this particular incident became a very famous, legendary event in the history of the Sufis. So a prince who left all the worldly pleasures, all the luxury life, and started to follow asceticism and started to live as a Sufi, means it was something really great. So the main concept, the main points of the main plot of this particular poem is from the real Abou bin Adhem. So it was a reality, it was an incident which had happened in the history, and the poet has got influenced by it, and it led, or it forced him to create a work, a poem by illustrating this particular incident. The next one is about the moral of the poem. The poem illustrates about the love, especially the love towards God and the love towards the fellow human being. It can be considered, or it can be compared to one of the verses quoting from the Bible. So once a rich man asked to Jesus how he can attain the kingdom of God. There the God says the entire commandments or the entire laws of religion can be summarized into two important points, and that is love your God with the whole of your heart, with all your soul and with all your mind, and secondly, love your neighbor as yourself. So the first concern of every human being must be towards the God. Love your God with all your heart, with all your soul and with all your mind. And in the same way, you have to love your neighbor. How much you love yourself. All the human being in this world is selfish. We love somebody because they love us more than we love ourselves. So that's why the God says that how much you love yourself, in the same way or in the same density you have to love your neighbor. There you proves that you are the son of God. You are becoming the children, or we are becoming the children of God. So love your God with all your heart, with all your soul and with all your mind. In the same way, you have to love your neighbor as yourself. So that's what the moral of the poem. Now the third critical remarks of the poem is spiritual element of the poem. The poem contains certain spiritual elements. It cannot be explained by science or nature. Example like the book of gold. We have seen number of books which made with different varieties of elements, which is having different shape, different cover pages and different nature and features. But have you ever seen a book of gold? So here this particular word itself telling that it is not something natural. It cannot be explained by science. It is something supernatural. So the book of gold is one of the point which points towards, or one of the elements which points towards the spiritual element of the poem. Again, the vision. The main character, the main person of this poem is having a vision. So it cannot be explained by science or nature. Again, a great awakening light. It's not told in the poem like it was something, the light of a tube light, or there was no light from a bulb, but it was something different, a great awakening light. So number of examples are there. I have just pointed out a few number of that. So these kinds of words are creating a spiritual atmosphere while we read the poem. So spiritual element of the poem is there in this particular work. Now let's see some general or something like the summary of the poem. It is set in a Middle Eastern country. We have a glimpse of the life of a godly man who is visited by a divine messenger. So actually this particular incident is being set in the Middle Eastern country, and it's about a godly man who got a visit from a divine messenger, or a divine messenger made a visit at a godly man. And it's about that particular this event is about the visit of that divine messenger. It was not about a number of days, but just 2 days. First day the divine messenger came, and he got vanished, and the next day again he came. So a small incident which had happened in the life of a godly man. So that's what the poem starts with, this particular message. And again, at first Adhem is the man, he was the godly man visited by a divine messenger. So at first Adhem is disappointed to learn that his name is not among those who love God. So the messenger came, in his hand there was a book, and in the book there were a number of names. A list of names were there, and the title of the names. So at the first page it was written, the people who love God. And Adhem was totally disappointed because his name was not there in the list. He then asked his angelic visitor to at least include his name among those who loved other people. So he asked the angelic person, the divine messenger who visited him. Adhem asked him to add his name at least in the list among those who loved other people. Other people means other fellow human being, your neighbor, your friends, the people who are in need of your help. So he asked the angelic visitor to add his name, to include his name among those who loved other people. So after this, the holy person, the divine messenger, vanished, and he appeared again the next night. The visitor returns and shows Adhem the names of all people who had been blessed by God. So in the next day, again the messenger appeared in front of Adhem, and at that time he was having another list, and it was containing the names of all people who had been blessed by God, who had been loved by God. So the first day he appeared with a list which contains the names of the people who love God. And the next day the angel appeared again with a list which contains the name of the people who are being blessed or loved by God. I hope you understood the difference between both. Adhem is delighted to see his name heading the list, which means when he had gone through the list, his name was at the first, heading the list. So this is what is the summary of the poem. So dear students, I hope you have understood certain points with regard to this poem, and the next class we will have a detailed study about the poem. Till then, I would like to sign off from the class, and we will meet again in the next class with the detailed elaboration of the poem. Till then, thank you.